Feeling perpetually insecure and feeling jealous within a relationship can drive anybody crazy, both the person experiencing it themselves and also their partner. The crazy thing is this: you might otherwise be a pretty well adjusted and confident person, and external circumstance doesn't even matter. Maybe the boys are going out to the bar tonight and you're worried that they're gonna find a more attractive, more fun, more wild, more spicy girl when they're out and about. Or maybe the guys are taking a fishing trip and you think that they're gonna meet some cool, nature-loving girl who is way more into camping than you are, and he's gonna fall madly in love with her and leave you. Whether or not there is actually a cause for concern, you know that this is a pattern that you have experienced, no matter who you're with or what is the actual event or circumstance that feels threatening. Maybe you've self-identified as having anxious attachment style. The funny thing is, maybe these intrusive thoughts and feelings doesn't even feel aligned with who you are. You could be someone that typically loves other women. You appreciate them, you support them, you admire them, you hype them up. But when you put it in a different context, if your partner is complimenting someone or even looking at another girl, or maybe they're talking about their ex, all of a sudden you turn into a hateful person and everything about this other person drives you crazy. This total stranger, whom if you actually met in real life on your own might have befriended, now you're thinking or saying the most vitriol things about them. Maybe you're obsessively comparing yourself to them for no reason. We're going to take a deep dive today into why this happens, and the reason might not be what you think. I'm also going to be offering 4 practical steps that you can take starting today later on in the video. Maybe you did go through a phase when you were a teenager when you were envious of other girls. Being a teenager is essentially a battleground of insecurities, self-doubt, and comparing ourselves to other people. But if you're lucky enough to have had healthy, supportive, loving female friendships, when we grow up and become adults, we actually start to admire these women and want to befriend them. If you're still comparing yourself to other people today, I urge you to stop today, like right in this moment. The truth is, there's always going to be somebody who's better at something than you, more beautiful, more smart, more successful. It is a much better long-term investment to be spending that time focusing on yourself and comparing yourself to your yesterday versus somebody else's today. Envy is when someone has something that you want that you don't have, and jealousy is when you feel like someone can take away something that belongs to you. So envy is a feeling of lack, and jealousy is a feeling of threat. Okay, so we are afraid that someone is going to take something away from us. We're perceiving a threat. Why? It is because we inherently feel that we are possessing something. Someone or something belongs to us. But no matter how romantic this sounds, this belonging, it's a fallacy, because nobody belongs to us and we definitely don't belong to anybody else but ourselves. But I absolutely understand why we have this deep desire and longing to belong, for this connection, ownership, possession. So we're going to talk more about that later. This is something that used to bother me a lot because there's this misalignment. I felt confident, I knew I was a catch, yet at the same time, every little external circumstance felt like a perceived threat, and I just didn't understand why. And it is because that when we get into a relationship, we place our sense of safety and security. Think of it as an anchor that would otherwise keep you here and help you feel safe and secure. When we get into a relationship, we put this anchor completely, or a large percentage of it, into another person. We basically willingly hand over the responsibility to somebody else to validate us and to make us feel like we're lovable and worthy. The core of it here is it's not about finding the perfect person, because you can never predict what's going to happen, even with the most perfect person. The work is always going to come back to ourselves. That is the core. When your anchor is outside of yourself, you will always be at risk from uncontrollable external circumstances. Of course, it's absolutely natural when you do get into a relationship, because your lives are now intertwined. There is a bit of putting a sense of safety and security in someone else, but to what degree? To use my all-time favorite analogy, think of yourself as a house. It's a house that you get to remodel, rebuild, decorate, because of the fact that we cannot control anybody else but ourselves, and we cannot control external circumstances. If your home is in somebody else, you're always going to feel not completely safe. And our fear of losing this person is going to cause us to hold on even tighter, and this can produce some quite undesirable qualities. And the worst part is it probably drives you crazy because you're just clenched and stressed all the time because you feel like your home might be under threat and be taken away from you at any moment. This is why we have to build our own house and make it immaculate. The reason why a lot of adults unconsciously seek homes in other people, seek shelter in other people, is because perhaps when we were in a more younger developmental stage, when we were children, we did not receive the attentiveness or the care or the nurture that we sought out from our caregivers. So in a way, we became emotionally malnourished and turned into these little hungry ghosts. And so as adults, we continue to seek that lost or never felt unconditional love. And I do believe that adult relationships can have elements of unconditional love, but also adult relationships are very much transactional, and they should be. To put it simply, we don't get to be an and expect people to just continue to take our
If you can have him, you can have him. I don't want that then.
Yeah.
If you can take him from me, then he's yours. I'm good. And I can keep it moving. Be there for my kids, or that's another story. But like, in terms of us, then our story ends, and that's okay. I cannot live my life like I did in my 20s, because I did do that. And it's like, for what? I wasted so many sleepless nights for what? Did that change how we acted? No. The guys, the girls, whatever, we're gonna do what we're gonna do. Regardless if you're staying up at night, not sleeping, stalking an Instagram, he's still gonna do what he's gonna do.
If you're someone like me and you were just clapping along to that video and agree with everything she's saying, but at the same time, you're wondering, okay, this is great, but how do I get to feeling this way? Well, this relaxed, confident, high worth feeling is essentially saying, no matter what happens, I know I will be fine. Here are some practices I want to share with you. Number 1, spend time with yourself. Not just regular time, quality time, just like you would request with a partner. If it's not already inherent, we have to learn how to love and enjoy being with ourselves. And I don't mean that you have to be a loner without social life, but I mean that you have to intentionally dedicate time with yourself, where you honor what you want, do the things that you love, take yourself on a date, go on a hike, pick up a new hobby, things that you are doing with yourself that makes you feel like the world is perfect and whole just by being with yourself. You know those people that feel magnetic because in a way it's almost like they exist in their own world and they just feel so whole and complete. And thus it's like being around them just radiates this relaxedness, maybe almost even whimsical sometimes. It's like this person is having a romance with life itself and they are the main character. I believe some of this quality comes from feeling that sense of anchor within yourself, and your cup is full because you take the time and energy to do things that fill you up, that nurtures your soul. This is the opposite of being a people pleaser and being a martyr. The people that will do everything they can for everybody else so that they feel a sense of love and belonging, but it comes with a sense of kind of negativity and resentment. See yourself as an architect, as an interior designer. This entity that exists that is you, this is your home, this is your house. Make it beautiful. Open the windows, let some light in, decorate it with the things that make you feel beautiful. Create a little library and fill it with experiences. And they don't even have to be big, crazy experiences. Just little moments that is special to you. And you create a devotional practice of how to love life fully just by being on your own. Second, begin to heal those past parts of you. I found that inner child healing methods can be really useful. So if you're interested, there's a video I'll link down below where I talk about 2 different practices that you can use. Practice when you have time. Maybe you're just driving or it's in the morning. Imagine and visualize that you are an entire ecosystem. Life-sustaining, joy-bringing, energy-creating ecosystem. You feel yourself. Taking another step further, just for fun, whenever you have time or you're spacing out or you're scrolling on your phone, instead, visualize that there's this anchor and it's heavy and it's grounded, this anchor that you place within yourself. And if ever in a real-time situation where you start to feel a little shaky, just come back to what this feels like when you have that anchor in your home completely within yourself. you're safe. Build self-trust by showing those vulnerable, afraid parts of you that she's worth spending time with, that you will take care of her and love her until the end of time. Show her that she's worth it and that you will do everything in your power to never again self-abandon. When you devote yourself to working on yourself in this way, it becomes the most unselfish thing you can do. Remember that practicing being complete on your own does not mean loneliness. In fact, it will make all your relationships richer, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships, because there's no longer going to be a string or a desperation to hold on tight or to hang on to something, because you know you feel complete on your own. Number 3, emotional regulation and self-soothing. Essentially, these are practices that helps you create some space or delay between the triggering event and your own reaction or your response. Self-mastery is the only thing that we have control over. It is the only thing that can empower us to change how we experience everything. Mastery of our own emotions and our thoughts is absolutely an essential part of maturity. I know it can feel really hard sometimes when you're flooded by a feeling or you're ruminating in a thought loop, but the truth is we do not have to submit to every whim that comes up within us. I know that there's been a lot of emphasis on honoring our feelings and being intuitive, and I'm not writing those things off at all. They are absolutely essential. But if you're someone who does have a dysregulated emotional or nervous system, and you tend to typically overreact because there's this wound that triggers inside of you when certain things happen, it is critical to understand a lot of times these feelings that come up is not your intuition. Instead, they might be a defense mechanism that really did protect you in the past, but now it's actually getting in the way of how you want to feel. Number 4, trust the process and refine your perception. I want you to remember this. Personal growth or development, working on ourselves, can sometimes feel like we've slid all the way back to ground zero. Meaning, let's say if you started here and this is your journey, you've made progress up here, you've scaled a hill, but now we're going up to a higher hill, and sometimes you might feel like you're sliding back down, but you're not all the way back to zero. You're still further along than where you used to be, even if you feel like you've digressed. This is important because anytime I have made significant progress on my own healing journey, it has been from a place of self-compassion, especially if you are a hungry ghost. If the reason why you have this pattern of behavior or feeling is due to a past wound, it is from a part of you that already feels unworthy and unlovable. By throwing more frustration and belittling that part of you is not going to make it feel better, and it's not going to continue to build your confidence or your self-worth. The worst part would be that believing you're actually broken and that you can't fix yourself, because that is absolutely not true. Some patterns just takes longer to rewire, but it's absolutely possible. I like to think all of us as these adorable little hermit crabs with their house on their back, and we exist happily next to each other. I'm not going to try to fit myself into your shell or your house because I'm simply not going to fit under there. Instead, I want to be right next to you, going through this journey of life together. If your anchor or your house is not in yourself and you keep putting it elsewhere, you will always feel under risk or threat of becoming homeless. So starting today, make an intentional practice of being the architect and the interior designer of your own house. We have to continue to create a strong foundation in our house so that no matter what happens externally, no matter what weather is going on, we know we are going to be okay. If you enjoyed today's video, please let me know in the comments below if you want me to cover more topics regarding relationships. And if you are someone who is interested in future projects and offerings, whether it's free or paid, make sure to join my Modern Pen Pal list down below. That's where I'll be sharing all the updates first. Thank you for watching today's video, and I'll see you next time.